Are you a business owner or employee who needs to network but is terrified of walking into a room full of people you don't know? Are you afraid of being left out of conversations or being awkward in the conversations you do have? Your tour guide, Faithann, is here to walk alongside you through the networking terrain, offering tips and tricks to network with ease. She'll also bring insightful interviews with successful business owners who have used networking to expand their businesses. Building relationships is the heart of networking, and generosity is the cruise ship that will navigate you toward those important relationships for your business or career. Grab your sunscreen and suitcase. Faithann is ready. Are you?
Hello there, and welcome to the Networkers Tour Guide podcast. I'm glad you found the show. Networking is providing opportunities for others that they would not have except for you, so that you have standing to ask for opportunities from people when you need them. How do we create opportunities for others, and how do we ask for those same opportunities? Well, that's what this podcast is all about. It's what I'm here for. Let's dive in to episode 44. Welcome to this episode of the Networkers Tour Guide podcast. I am so proud to welcome Garrett Hammonds and Nolan Clay Rogers. Gentlemen, thank you for saying yes to coming on the podcast with me today.
Absolutely. No, thank you for inviting us.
Sure.
Of course, we're happy to be here.
Well, let me tell you how I came to be aware of Nolan and Garrett. It's so interesting how it just doesn't matter what is happening in my life. It somehow ties to networking. So you're both part of a weekly networking group, and you've done something very interesting with your weekly networking group to kind of promote it. Tell us, I'll let you guys tell us what you've done, another avenue to promote your weekly networking group.
We have had an amazing time doing something just like what we're doing today. We have started a podcast where we have the members from our networking group come on and tell us about their businesses, but more interestingly, we get so many cool stories about their lives and all the different things they've picked up about business as a whole. Just last week, we had a guest, his name is Mike McDaniels, who goes into the most interesting homes as a home inspector, and he's seen a monkey in a closet, and there's stories he told us behind the scenes that I wish I could share, but goodness, you learn so many crazy things, but it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, and that's how I first came to hear the podcast. Now, I knew the organization's founder, Dirk. I knew of him. I know him. And he was telling me that you guys had a podcast, so I started listening. And I was blown away by one of your episodes about storytelling, and everything you guys were saying about stories was connecting in my mind so well with networking that I just had to have you guys come on and talk to my audience about storytelling. So before we dive in, you can each tell me a little bit or tell the audience about what you do and the clients you serve. Nolan, why don't you start?
Sure. My name's Nolan Clay Rogers. You can find all my shenanigans at nolanclayrogers.com because I serve anybody that cracks open any type of holy book that finds themselves shoulding all over themselves, asking questions, presuming there's a moral right and wrong. And I use a lot of old spiritual tools that might have been poo-pooed on in Sunday school every so often that really help my clients gain some clarity, guidance, and direction. So I prefer professionals who already have good teams, good networking groups, and everything else, but something's still missing. I help them find that missing thing.
Very good. I love how specific you're being with your description. What about you, Garrett?
Well, I have a great time running an agency with my wife, Grace. We have a marketing agency based out of Norman named Hammonds Media. And we're a full service digital marketing agency. So anything you can think of marketing online. But I would say we specialize in three specific areas: website development, advertising in any kind of digital context, and SEO or search engine optimization. And we just hit our 5-year mark of owning our company. And so it's been a really fun time of celebration. You can find us at hammondsmedia.com. Or you can, if you want to find me on LinkedIn, just search for Garrett Hammonds, and you can look me up there, or go to garrett@hammondsmedia.com. Shoot me an email, find me after this. I'd love to be able to get to know you.
Excellent. Congratulations on 5 years.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
It's a really cool milestone to hit.
Yeah. A lot of times with website development people, I'm noticing the kind of clients they serve are so varied. So I know an agency owner who really doesn't even want the single plumber. Like, she doesn't even want that kind of client. And then I know others, like my brother just got a website and he's just so brand new and he found somebody. So do you have a preference as to where people are in their business? Like Nolan talked about, he prefers people with a team. Do you have a preference?
I wish I could say that I could help anybody and everybody at every single stage. I unfortunately cannot. Most of the time, you have to be an established, I would say, small business. So probably, haven't been around for a couple of decades, but you've been around for a few years and have a consistent marketing budget. And so we have served, mom and pop shops all the way up to Fortune 500s. And so it's a broad range, but I always describe our team as a small team who does big things. So that's hopefully answers your question.
Yeah.
A little bit broad still, I know.
Oh, that's okay. Well, let's get into why I wanted you to come on. I was listening to your episode about story, and you said so many interesting things about story and about cultures and how important story is to culture. And there were two highlights that I wanted you both to talk about that really relate to networking. So I think we'll start with Nolan. You talked about how the reason why older people sometimes get taken advantage of is because they don't have enough story in their life. Why don't you tell us a little bit more about that?
Well, I find it funny that you glommed onto the one offhand comment that I was only thinking about while we were recording that episode as well. So that was a completely new thought for me. But it was a mixture of realizing that, part of the reason why a lot of religions or a lot of ideologies or new systems or processes, even within business, they have to have their form of evangelists, somebody to actually go out and try and bring in new congregants, new people that believe in whatever is being sold or pushed to them. And the problem becomes is when you haven't heard a lot of stories or you haven't been exposed to a lot of the world, you'll just kind of take the next best story that's the most interesting, has the biggest dopamine hit that you have ever seen before. And that really applies to our elderly because nobody talks to them a whole lot anymore. Nobody's there, nobody's sharing, nobody's hearing what they have to say. And so, unfortunately, having been trained in sales, all of these techniques to get someone to buy from you or to just stay on the phone and keep talking to you, which builds rapport, which builds this relationship. And that's a problem when nobody talks to our elders anymore, which means that they can be sold on any story that is possibly the first person they've talked to in months. And that's where we have to understand that it's part of our job to tell stories to other people, to consume better stories, to put ourselves out there and find as amazing of narratives as we possibly can so we can pick and choose for ourselves and not just take whatever's offered.
Right. It is so sad when I heard you say that. And then I thought, well, sometimes when we're networking, there are those older people that come consistently to our meetings. And then I just thought, oh, I need to be a better job of talking to them. And I'm not talking about patronizing them. I'm talking about really understanding them. And they probably have a much more rich stories of their own to tell in a side of a networking meeting because they have so much more life experience. So you don't need the small talk with them because they might have been alive before the internet, before, what was it like when, an oven, I don't know, a new appliance was so cool, something we take for granted. But what would you say to us as networkers when we are around the older generation at meetings?
As networkers, honestly, I would recommend take into consideration one of the constraints we have at our weekly networking group of we're not trying to sell to each other. We're trying to tell people who we're looking for and what we need that week. And rather than you telling these older folks that might be coming to your networking groups or anybody else that might be new, actually asked them who they're looking for. What do you need? What do you want? Not only because that's how our networking group gets run at Think Biz Solutions, but that's also how I run all my sessions with clients. That's the only thing I really care about is what do you desire? What do you want most? And that unpacks so many stories that you never even knew you had access to from a person.
Yeah.
One of the neat things that I heard from a mentor one time was that when we get to the later parts of our life, one of the things that can be one of the largest temptations is feeling like we're irrelevant and that people don't want to listen to our stories anymore. And networking, it's more than just about an in dollar sign. It's about community and connections and relationships, which is kind of what you're talking about there, Nolan. It's we have to be able to be an encouragement to one another and meet each other where we're at. Otherwise, we may get a call from a telemarketer, and if they're willing to listen to our story, may end up giving them a credit card or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, don't sign away your firstborn.
You know that there's a scam now with, at least in Oklahoma, the Pike Pass, and I just feel so bad for people. They text them and say, your Pike Pass is expired or something like that, and they click on the link and now they're being hacked. Back to what you were saying, Garrett, about, feeling irrelevant. That's another advantage of a networking meeting. Let's say everybody gets a minute to stand up and say who they are, who they're looking for. Everybody gets the minute. It's not based on age. It's based on everybody. And those skills, those people skills that our elderly continue to need when they're around other people can be very beneficial to them in this way.
Absolutely. Well, I do have to take one step back. That Pike Pass text, that's a scam.
Oh, no.
No, Garrett, no.
Just kidding. Just kidding.
Oh, yeah. Sometimes my husband has this uncanny scam radar. So sometimes I'll just give him the phone and I'll say, tell me if this is real or not. Like he just knows. And sometimes I don't even know. So, but again, you got to have somebody in your life, if you're home alone and nobody's talked to you in 8 days. Oh gosh. So the other thing I wanted to talk about, and then we'll get to the pockets thing, Garrett, that I wanted to bring up that you had mentioned. So what do you guys think of this? So everyone that I talk to, when we talk about networking, the thing they hate is small talk. I hate small talk. I hate small talk. I hate small talk. And one of the reasons, just from listening to y'all talk about stories, is could it be that we don't like small talk because we know there's something better to say in our stories? We know our stories are better, but we don't know how to get there.
That's interesting. I could see that. Small talk is really our way of just filling the silence. And so what is it really telling people about us? How about, them Cowboys or the weather this week? It's so hot. It's not really telling us anything. And so I think you're right. A lot of the time we don't enjoy small talk as much because it feels meaningless. It's not actually giving any details about the stories that we're living.
Mm-hmm. Right. And in order to be open to share, you have to be vulnerable to those people that are at that meeting.
And I'm going to give a little bit of devil's advocacy over here because
How dare you?
this is mostly because of recency effect. I was just listening to a professor of literature and writing talking about creative nonfiction. And the problem with people not writing nonfiction is they don't realize that you're allowed to tell the truth from your perspective. And so some of my best conversations come from technically small talk, but I'm describing the weather how I would describe the weather, using some colorful verbiage or really swearing and telling my whole truth about how hot it is outside. or just describing the day, the week, but more importantly, starting off the small talk, I ask people, how is the day or the week treating them?
Mm.
Because it prompts a completely different version of our normal day-to-day events. I don't care what's happened, I care how you feel treated. And that opens up the small talk in a new way that actually gets me to hear their experience and their personality from the normal day-to-day.
That's excellent. Yeah, you invite a story that they didn't know they had just by how you frame it. I like to say, I love your necklace. Tell me the story of how it came to be in your closet or that dress or whatever. You're priming the person when their brain hears, tell me the story of, they're not going to say, I got it at Dillard's, even if that's all they had planned to say. But when you say, tell me the story of how it came to be in your closet, they're going to dig a little deeper. And that's what we want, is those deep conversations. Not, like on a couch at a psychiatrist's office, but something more than just, I went to Dillard's and I bought a dress and I brought it home,
So you're saying you like my necklace?
It's lovely.
Hi, listeners. Do you struggle when it comes time to deliver your introduction or pitch at your networking meetings? Faithann has put together the 8 tips she uses to make her introduction stand out when she networks. And now you can use them too. Imagine walking into your next event with confidence, knowing exactly how to stand out so people actually remember you. These tips are designed to spark your creativity so you can bring more personality, energy, and originality into your introduction, helping you feel more confident and making it easier for people to connect with you. Grab your free copy of 8 Ways to Make Your Introduction Stand Out by clicking the link in the show notes and download it today.
Yeah, so then the other thing that, Garrett, that you talked about was how you talk to your clients about, I think this is right, you want your clients to understand their own clients, and a very unique way that you can do that is you ask them, well, what would be in their pockets? Can you tell us about that?
Absolutely. So one exercise that we'll go through is we make the audience personas. Some people call them avatars. And it's just these representations of who your audience is on average. So it's kind of those generalizable things about them, are your clients typically leaning male or female? Well, if it leans female, then your avatar is going to be female. One approach that I started doing with those avatars is asking about, well, what would be in their pockets? And the first time that I did this, I had a client who just kind of gave me a weird look. They were like, well, why does that matter? And the reason why it matters is, one, it'll tell you things that you may have never thought about before. So maybe your client carries a lighter in their pocket because they smoke, but they also carry nicotine gum because they're trying to kick the habit. So it tells you a little bit about their buying affinities just right there. But maybe they carry a deck of cards because they calculate your math for the week, like my friend Nolan over here. So there's all kinds of different things we can learn.
Nice plug.
But the big thing is, are we really, truly, and deeply trying to understand who our audience is and what makes up their lives, or what we can think of as their lived stories, their living narratives? And then how does that affect how we bring solutions to them?
Mm-hmm.
And it can make a big difference.
Yeah, that's really cool. One of the things that my sales coach told me, or not me specifically, but she says, when you get a client, ask them, what made you say yes to hiring me? And that question is gold, because they'll tell you what it really is, not what you think it is, but what it really is. And then you can use that language and target other people in a way that you never would have thought before, because you think you know, but you don't really know. I love asking that, and I got a really surprising answer on one of my products that I have. I said, "What made you say yes?" Because this person who bought it is a seasoned networker. And he said, "I love learning new things." So now I can use that. Like, I'm looking for the person, that professional who loves learning new things, when I wouldn't have thought of that before. But it's because he told me what it was. He could have chosen anything you wanted to say, but that's what he said, because that was his driving motivation. So that's a lot. I mean, isn't marketing a lot too about motivation? What is motivating people to choose you as their solution?
Absolutely. I think getting feedback and applying that feedback regularly to the language that you use, whether it's in sales or advertising or marketing, whatever the case is. One of the things that I love doing with some of my e-commerce clients is I'll incorporate some AI to help me with this research, but I'll just have it parse through, thousands of reviews, either of their competitors or their own reviews or related books on Amazon, whatever the case is, but find out what people like, what they dislike, what exact words they use to describe the things that they want to know about certain topic areas related to the product or service. That process of scraping that language from the reviews, it's like it costs so much money to poll people and to go do surveys on a large scale, but you have it all right there. People are giving it out freely. We need to take advantage of any opportunity we have to learn about not the reasons we assume people do things, but the actual reasons that they share with us. I love that you asked that question.
Yeah.
And Garrett will, of course, take a really high tech approach to this. I, unfortunately, as a baby entrepreneur, have been so analog that I've just realized that the Pareto distribution works. You can cut out about 80% of what you, the business owner or the service provider, thinks is valuable to a client or a customer, and realize that they are happy with 20% of what it is you actually do. And I've learned that from either having to do sessions and client were completely hoarse and realizing that, oh, it's not the dulcet tones of Nolan Clay Rogers that people are buying. Or no, it's not any of the weird specialized knowledge that I have. It's just sitting down with me and I ask them questions they've never been asked before. And just that understanding of storytelling, just like good art, is subtraction. So the more that you can cut out and still get to that core, beautiful, tasty bit of existence and experience, that's the most valuable thing to understand as well, is you can cut away so much of what you think is important, and that's not even close to what most people really want from you as a person.
Yeah, and also, you can overwhelm people too. You have to be careful about I've got this offer and it comes with this and it comes with that and it comes with this and it comes with that and it can do so much. And really they don't want this, and this. They just want that one thing. And then, Garrett, what are most reviews? Most online reviews are simply stories. They're either stories of bad experiences or stories of good experiences.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we don't come at these reviews void of emotion. We come full of our emotion. We're either really upset or we're really happy. And either way, we're telling a story.
Absolutely. And I actually have the most fun reading the negative reviews. There is so many wild things out there related to products. And you never know what somebody has unlocked to make a product not work right. But if you want to find out, go read some one-star reviews. You'll see, 50 different ways to break a product.
Yeah. Oh, we're enjoying a certain business. I won't say who it is, that these reviews are just awful. And what makes them even more awful is that the owner has no idea how to respond appropriately, which almost makes it like a comedy show. You just laugh at the cringe of it all. It's awful. You got to know how to reply to those reviews. I'm sure you help your clients when they get bad reviews.
Yes, absolutely. The big thing is never try and have a fight with someone in your reviews, because you're going to lose every time, whether you're quote unquote right or wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So the big thing is to try and de-escalate and make it to where you're not necessarily trying to win that one person who had a negative experience. That may be a goal, but the big goal in the review is trying to win everyone else who reads that and show them what exactly you will do to try and give support to someone who's had a difficult time with your product or service. And I'll throw out one other interesting thing that I've come across in my research on reviews. There's a researcher who does a lot of work with large language models. So throwing out AI stuff again, but this is far beyond me. But he's reviewed millions upon millions of reviews to be able to see what language is used. And when we use present tense language in reviews, we see much better results. So, for instance, if I were to say, I went to a restaurant and it was good, the servers were nice, and the food was tasty, we as people reading those reviews may say, okay, it was like that, but what is it like now?
Mm.
And if we use present tense and say, my server is so much fun and I can't recommend this enough, that present tense language will make a much bigger impact. So we also want to instruct clients on how to be able to request reviews as they go through as well.
Yeah. Then there's a lot of software out there that automatically does all that.
Circling back to that understanding of networking, even in the present tense, so many of my clients are held back by identifying with something. I am an accountant or I am a mom. But that's also what makes networking events go wrong is when you identify as I have this role, it instantly shuts you out from conversations you could have with people by just stating presently what you do.
Mm-hmm.
I help with, or I provide, or I am able to XYZ. And ancient languages had the same thing of they didn't identify with the feeling. They didn't say, I am sad. They said, I have a sadness coming over me. So, for example, right now, Garrett is not this master of social media and marketing. Garrett masters social media and marketing for clients, for other people, for anything else. Faithann masters podcasting and networking and everything else. And that shift in language is what creates stronger stories.
That's a great point. And I had this same sales coach told me too, like when something is difficult for you, don't frame it like I can't XYZ. You say XYZ is a challenge for me. That's a whole different thing. That way you're not identifying as networking. I'm not a good networker. Instead say networking is a little bit difficult for me or comes to me with some difficulty. That way there's a road home, man. You're not stuck with just this being true all the time.
Exactly. And my hypnosis tutor taught me that there's this lovely trick of saying, before now, I had problems networking. Before now, whatever the problem was, is in the past now. Doesn't even matter because before now was when it happened.
Right. Excellent. Well, this has been a really fun conversation, and I always ask my guests 2 questions before we end, and you guys can pick which ones you want to answer. So the 2 questions are, what do you like to see when you network, and what do you not like to see when you network?
I'll tell you what I don't like to see when I network, and it's
Mm.
Nolan. I don't like to see
I know.
Nolan when I network. Really try and avoid him.
My mug, terrible to see on a weekly basis.
No, I'll say I don't like to see low energy. When it comes to a networking event, if we don't have the right environment that welcomes everybody, where you can tell it's not going to, if you say hello to someone, they're not going to, slap you upside the head and tell you to go away. But sometimes you can go to events and it feels like that, like you've really offended somebody. Everybody's trying to be able to make connections, help their businesses usually. But I think we have to understand that everybody has different social strengths. And so if you're strong at being social, help somebody else who maybe is not as strong. And when we give it usually comes back around to us. So I like to see things that are welcoming, and I don't like to see that, unwelcoming energy. Let's call it that.
That's a great point.
Well, Garrett, since you put me on the spot, the thing that I like is whenever Garrett's not there. But in all seriousness, I really like digital business cards because then I get to scan a little QR code. I get to have your info right in my phone. I don't have to put it in. But part of why I like the digital business cards is because it allows me to book a meeting from a meeting. I don't like seeing people at a networking group and then they say, "Oh, I'll get back to you." Well, some of the best networking opportunities that I've had was, "Hey, I see you physically right now. When's your calendar open?" And we book something from that moment that we meet if we want to talk again or have a one-on-one. So please, for the love of all that's holy, digital business cards, and tell me when your calendar is open while we are physically in the same place.
Yeah, that's really good. Yeah, make the meeting before you leave. That way it's not on your to-do list later on. Thank you so much for coming on, both of you, and talking to me about story and about networking and customer experiences. It's been a really great, fun conversation. And listeners, if you need some digital media help, or if you want someone to ask the questions that you've never been asked before for some more clarity in your life, check out Nolan and Garrett, and all of their information will be in the show notes. Thank you guys so much. Go network, my friend, and set your meetings right away, and let's have some high energy when we walk into that room.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you.
You are most welcome. You've been listening to the Networkers Tour Guide podcast with Faithann Basor. Share this episode with a friend, and be sure to come back next week for more networking tips and tricks from the Networkers Tour Guide.